Hello and welcome back to Mega Miniatures. Today we're going to be taking a dive into D&D and taking a look at the Dungeon Book of Battle Mats, Volume 1. So this is the channel's first video on Dungeons and Dragons. This particular book I have in front of me is the Dungeon Books of Battle Mats from Like Loke Battle Mats. It came out a little while ago, it's still available, and this particular one has a set of 2 battle mat books for RPG play. With lockdown ending very soon, hopefully we can all start meeting up again and playing D&D in person. Don't get me wrong, I love Roll20 and other online variations of how to play Dungeons and Dragons, but in person there's a real sense of adventure together. So let's take a look at this now. So when you open up, you have 2 books that come with this. Volume 1 and Volume 2, which I'll be covering in a future video. Today the focus is going to be on Volume 1. Really nice artwork on the front, very classical and more like a drawn art piece than anything CG. If we turn to the back, we see a really quick reference of every map you get inside this. So everything's wiped clean, and there are 40 total maps to go through. The Dungeon Book of Battle Mats Volume 1 contains 40 wiped clean pages of modular maps, which can be used individually across both pages of the book or lined up with the maps in Volume 2 to create epic play areas. So I've used this book a few times now, really am impressed with it. So let's go through and see what's available to see whether this is something that might interest you. So the first couple of pages are blank. This is perfect for creating your own drawing. Just get a dry white marker and create whatever scene you want. Plus, with the double siding, you can have a larger, thinner piece. When you Volume 2 on here, it gets even wider. Or you can just half it, and that's your whole game mat. Page 2, with this lovely ruined temple area or a forestry landscape. There's a stream. There's lots of different varieties you can use this for. It really is up to your imagination, and just adding a few little pieces on top will make a huge difference. And just as a scale reference for you, I have my little cleric here. Used him in many games as a paladin or a cleric, and just simply he takes up 1 spot. Now his base is slightly bigger than normal D&D model. This is a dragonborn wizard or sorcerer or anything you want him to be, even a warlock. And you notice his base is a lot smaller in design. This is actually from D&D themselves. And this model just fits even better inside the circle. But depending on what you're using, this base or his base, there's no issue. Might zoom in just so you can see them a little bit more. So his base, perfectly good. And this base fits even better. So depending whatever you're using, you'll be absolutely fine with this battle map. Perfectly sized and for any type of model. Okay, next page. This one continues the ruins theme. We have some knockdown pillars here, some markings in the floor, and this could even be a before and after setting, depending on how your game's going or what you want to do with it. I've actually used this particular one before as a sort of puzzle in the middle here. Adventurers came in, found this ruined temple area, and there was a puzzle marked for them here. This next one is really nice, especially when you include it with the second book. So there's these chest-like blocks, and other kind of stone pieces here. If you ever play Minecraft, they look a bit like terracotta blocks. But they're creating different rooms, so you have already that creation set up. If you're going into a manor house or something, there's a stairway already built here. This can be a large meeting room, there's a bedroom, a study. Whatever you need to create the setting, you have that here. This one can even be a large entrance room. Your adventurers walking in and greeted by a throne up here. There are some simpler ones like this one, but they're always useful, good for battles and anything you have in mind. I believe I've used one like this with a necromancer before, where I really wanted a larger area for the characters to have their battle and not be blinded or have a difficult time finding their enemy. This beautiful design could appear as a fountain in the middle of a village, or even as a centerpiece in a large grand hall. Mentioning the throne earlier, here we have a tattered carpet leading to a throne, surrounded by pillars. You'll note there are offshoots here, and obviously the gap here and the little gaps here. So if you really wanted to have another pathway leading off, easily done, and a pathway at the top here for your king or villain or wherever you have to escape to. On this side, it can be part of the same piece, or you have a perfect setting for a grand meeting or a larger bar area or just a feast. This one has some kind of water elements to it, which have been really useful for me. A lot of my adventures end up involving the sea or some kind of cavern with water in it, and that's where these come in perfectly. There could be an underground area where this water leads down further. Your character could dive, and there could be anything from small mermaids to krakens down below, however you wish to take that. Same with this side. There are rooms broken off as in previous pages, but also with this water running through the middle just adds to mystery, and you can really add some investigations to your story. Each page does have these numbers on the bottom, so it's very easy to remember where you are and what page you need. Running games as a dungeon master, things can get complicated very quickly. So if you have in your notes that you need to turn for the next map and it's page 15, or whatever you need to go to, this makes it so much easier. Small, simple thing, but you don't want to have to keep flicking through every single page looking for your particular planned out area. Plus, having a book like this with things already pre-done for you, you can draw them the night before or have them in days before your game, and then they're done for you. So when you flip over the page for your players, that map is already prepared for them, rather than if you had just a blank page or blank map and having to redraw it every time, wiping it down, redrawing it. Doesn't take long, but it is a frustration, and I know that pain. So on to these pages. Very simple flooring, just tile, broken parts, some kind of moss broken areas. This can be used for nearly anything. It's almost as versatile as a completely blank page. Heading to some of my favourite pages now, these with their rooms. It makes building up a house or a tavern or any other kind of place so much easier with the fact that this is very clearly walls, very clearly a doorway, and your players won't have any questions about that. I know when I've drawn buildings before, players often will say, well, is that this or what? It doesn't take too long to explain, but this just keeps the pace going, keeps the story alive. And for me, that's so important. In each of these areas, you can easily draw whatever you feel would suit in them as well. Plus, there's a huge variety. So I said if you wanted to take it just as this page, that's a perfect setting for a building. Or even this page, included with it, and you just create larger and larger scenes. This could even be a street if you so wished. Heading outside, and then this is one shop, another, potions, magic, armor. It really is available to your imagination. Continuing that theme, we have a larger town centre here, buildings shooting off it. These could be, even though they're marked just here, it doesn't mean there's not a second story you can create or that they go down or head further back. Same with these rooms. The separation with them is lovely as well, just having slightly different colours, tiling, marking out with kind of glowing lights. So in the beginning, so the middle can become a ceremony room or an incantation room. This one's clearly laid out to be a prison of some sorts. You have a guards area, they even have swords waiting and drinks. They even have chests, so you don't even have to add that in yourself. That can just be a standard thing for you. But these rooms are very clearly marked off as jails. And that can be anything, a keep under a palace, or just a simple jail in the town. Plus the added benefit of these walls end here on each side. So when you're adding in the other book, there's an easy point to join them onto. Also, if your party were feeling really adventurous, there's a grate here, so they could appear in these rooms from a dungeon. Continuing the grate theme, we have a couple more here, and there's other rooms in the same styling as the previous prison, which means this could be part of the same complex, same building. So your scenes aren't changing that dramatically and your players will get used to a kind of look of where they are. But even here there are certain rooms with slight differences. Wooden floorboards that you could have pried up, over here and here as well. This one is absolutely lovely. You have this gorgeous bridge, broken down in parts, with some water running around it. This leads into the balcony over here, which can go into this room, or as I said, you could have it on its own piece. And lovely area of land here. This could even be the wall of a castle. There's water running underside and it breaking into here. A perfect spot for your adventurers to arrive and then have to make their way over and through the building. This one could be seen as a woodland floor. You have rocky areas and these weird fungus type mushrooms. Plus, there's a walkway down here. So you can either skip this side and have it purely as that ground, or if you bring in here you have some intrigue of what this area is. Does it lead to boats? Does it lead out to another building? I think I'd probably have this as adventurers coming from this way and having to make their way up this path here. So finding a route through and being attacked by monsters relating to poison and other kind of forestry creatures. Be a really nice challenge for your players. Some of these rooms appear as if they have in other pages. So we had a nice clean setup and now more of a destroyed area. Depending what your story was and how that was created, maybe a dragon destroyed a building and your adventurers were in here, escaped, and are now making their way back in to find out what is left and what remains. Some of their treasure scattered around, some of their friends here needing help. This is a great example of a library or a shop that sells magic. Scattered around we have scrolls and many books that could be magical. Even runes written into the ground. Teleportation circle possibly here as well. Possibilities are huge here. If you're a fan of things like Critical Role, I know that Matt Mercer likes using bookshops a lot in his stories. So it's a great place to try that out. This one as well. But due to its setup, unlike this one previously, this could even be part of an office or a meeting area for people to gather and have that kind of secret discussion disguised by the books laid around. Towards the end of the book we have some of these more specific areas, but ones that really are intriguing. This particular one would be an absolutely perfect puzzle for adventurers, whether they can make their way across. Might take you a little bit of time to figure out what type of puzzle you want to create, but with all the runes available here, I'm sure there's something possible. And on this side, we have the opportunity to bring in mechs and machinery And depending where you've set your world, they could have different technologies available to them, which allow you to introduce new systems and how people can enter these rooms, as their only entrance seems to be from the cogs, where they need skill checks to see whether they can make their way across. These ones are fascinating. I really like this underground feel, and if you took the page in half and just use one of them, there's an easy way down from a building into this underground sewer or waterway and then out on a boat. If you didn't have this side, then it wouldn't be enclosed, or they could always break through one of these grates. If you're creating a tower setup, as many of the book adventures have, these two are perfect. Entering from the outside, there's a clear staircase so adventurers know they can head up. They can see these gaps and doorways and how to get to specific rooms. And if you wanted to keep it simple for yourself, you can head up the staircase and find yourself in this room. Turning to the last pages, we have this perfect boss battle area and this map corridor that reminds me of Zelda, the original. It'd be great to see what you could do to create something in here and what monsters or enemies would really suit this area. And that's the end of the first book. As I said, there's a quick reference to every single one you have here, so you can really see what you're going for, and while you're creating or writing your campaigns, there's an easy way to figure out what you're looking for in here. So come back next week and I'll be taking you through book 2. And if you want to pick up a copy of this, just visit Loke Battle Mats, and they have this and many more battle mats available. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!